got going on here? What's up, Colin? It's RC Lemonade. What's up, Jake? Well, hello there, Kitty. Hope everybody's doing well. I've been traveling. I drove to Colorado for a few races, and yeah, it's been awesome. Sorry, everything's kind of a mess. Today we're going to talk about drag racing. Drag race Tuesday, drag race Monday, whatever. What's up, Sean? There's been a lot of questions when I'm out racing, when I'm out doing these events. A lot of Facebook posts and stuff about setup. We're going to kind of go over a few things. I know it's probably a repeat of a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things that I've learned in the last couple of weeks. This is a constant learning the whole time we're out there playing with our toy cars. Biggest thing out there when you are planning on going out to do some of these events and they're at night, lights are a huge bonus. And I am running the $14 AE lights front and rear on my CUDA and my Super J. Super J, I run a single light in the rear, and then I run dual headlights in the front. And I plug them right in the receiver. Super easy to install. The only thing you might have to do is you might have to widen the front lights out a little bit if you run a wider body like that. The rear, pretty tight, but if you do, wow, this thing's dirty. If you do go out, plan on racing at night, lights is a must. That way you're not scrambling for glow sticks or whatever. And it seems like everybody out there is running a really dark body. I'm gonna leave this on for a second. So lights is a definitely something that you guys want to definitely look into and make sure that you your car's lit up. What's up, Dave? It's snowing there. Are you serious? I was in CPEX Scale Creation does Crawl Zone South, Dave, and we were there. It was 90 something degrees, and then haven't even gone a week and it's already snowing, he says. But they are doing drag race in Colorado Springs also. So if you guys do live in Colorado Springs and wanted to get into racing, hit him up. There's like JT's and Phil for NPRC, Colorado NPRC. They all do drag racing. I was there for about 7-8 days, and I raced at least 4 to 5 of those days. 3 were races, and then a couple days were practice sessions. So let's get into setup on cars. Sorry, this is a little dirty. Just came right. What's up, Dave? Just came right off the track from the birthday race, which we had a great turnout. It was a long night. This is my 13.5 car. I think I made it to semifinals on 13.5. So the setup on both my cars are almost identical. This car, I do have the Drag Race Concepts sway bar. On my Go Fast car, I do have the stock DR10 sway bar. The biggest thing is to make sure they're free. The Drag Race Concept does have bearings inside the bar, which is really nice. It makes it super smooth. But you want everything in your car to be super smooth. I'm just going to kind of go down my list here on what my setup is, and then my gearing for both cars, and then we'll talk about some other stuff. My setup is the same in both cars. I do run 2,000 weight diff oil in the rear shocks, and I run like 60 weight in the front shocks. I am running the stock springs on this car. This is the stock DR10. These are stock DR10 springs. My Go Fast car, I'm running purple substituted fronts and gray truck fronts in the rear of my Go Fast car. I am running 200,000 weight diff oil in both cars, 200,000. I feel that anything stiffer than that needs more of a higher grip track, which 200,000 seems to be really something to really something that has probably the best setup for me and a lot of the people I've known that run their cars. This car is my 13.5 car. Depends on the event. They did allow wheelie bars in this class, so I run the short wheelie bar. This is the drag race concept brace off the back, and the drag race concept wheelie bar, which is super light. It seems not to twist or tweak as much. There are some out there that get a lot of tweak, and that's something else we'll go through also. I'm running a 13.5 motor with a 2981 spur, with a Wheelie 13.5 motor, Blinky 510R, and I am running a 4800 115C graphene zapper pack, as well as I'm also running a my Futaba radio receiver, and this car has the Wheelie quick shorty servo in this car, and my fast car I am running a Reefs servo, the shorty servo for the front of that. Both cars are pretty much identical on setups, but my other car, this is all DR10 front end. The Go Fast car, I am running the B6-1 spindles and C-hubs. For the reason why is I can adjust another 5 degrees of kickback in the front. And I am running our aluminum C and D block in the rear. For you guys that run on looser conditions, a 3x3 is really good. I'm running a 2.5x2. Pills in the back with the arrows in the back pointed in. That's pretty much set up on this car here. That's what I have put in the car. Anybody pulling out the old direct drive tan cars? There's the one cell cars are direct drive. The direct drive cars are not allowed to race in our outlaw class or 13.5 car class. It has to have a gearbox. So it has to be a short course based truck. So it's this is basically our buggy, our DB10, or it could be our SC Pro two-wheel drive short course truck. A lot of guys are running SC6 trucks, or they're running the B6 vehicles, or SCM5s with longer chassis. So, what you guys are also going to want to take a look at. Usually, I'll keep my tires in bags. That way, they don't dry out. It's a good way of keeping your tires in good condition. But also, when you do have your car all set up, everything is, set up correctly, I always take a set of calipers and I measure each one of my, if I'm running through shock bodies, make sure that the shocks are set up the same in the rear as well as the front. As I said also in the past, that you also want to make sure that nothing's binding. You don't want none of the arms to bind. You want everything to be free. Your turnbuckles are free, front and rear. And then the big thing is let's talk slipper. For whatever reason, people have this thing of making sure the slipper is locked as tight as it can be. The slipper is there to help give the car traction. Yes, it does slip, but you can adjust that. That's why it's a screw. If you guys are running these things locked, your cars are hard to drive. And I've seen this at a few different places. Back that slipper off. Now, I do run a different slipper pad. I run the LCF associated slipper pads. Part number 91197. It's more of a race slipper pad. Thank you. It's more of a race slipper pad. What I found out that it is a lot more consistent than the white pads or the stock pads it comes with. So I do run the LCF pads in both cars. On my Outlaw car, I do run the VTS conversion, which turns it into a 3-pad. Part number on that's 91175. I do run that on my Outlaw car. It just has more pad to slip. So on this one is a 2-pad, and I just changed the pads. And we do make lightweight slipper pads and that kind of stuff too. Guys, don't lock your slippers down. Let the slippers work. You know, 13.5, my car will slip out about a foot or two, and then it's locked up all the way down. The faster cars, you'll have to. It's not like turn at a time. It's like 16ths. Just barely adjust it. You know, if you're leaving and it's pulling the wheels really hard and it's doing this and it's just out of control, back that slipper off a little bit. It's letting the tires get the traction on the ground instead of being violent. So you guys just back that slipper off. Don't lock that thing down. Let's see here. Some of the vents do run like direct drive. Some guys have run one cell cars out here. Some guys will run the big A scales. They'll just use a different part of the track. You know, they'll use it really inside or really outside. But not so much. Yes, and when I first get the car, Willie's asking, do I run the same amount of adjustments in the rear? When I go to start out fresh at a new road, yes, I run my car with the same amount on both sides. Now, when I take off, the car sets back and it wheelies, and if the car goes left or it goes right, if it goes left, I'll put a little bit of preload in the spring to get the car to go straight. Because not all roads are flat. Not all roads are the same. So once you have them equal, then usually it takes like a half a turn to get the car to go straight. And it's just put a little bit more pressure on that one side of the car. Yeah, it's been a couple weeks, Steve. I've been traveling. So, I've been traveling. And I just got back. And I was going to try to go live while I was on the road. But when I'm by myself and I'm driving down the road, it's hard to go live and talk to the phone and drive, especially through Colorado where all the roads are windy and twisty. So, once you have all that set up, make sure your front's the same. I really never adjust the front unless I'm setting different heights. If I want a little more retraction, I could raise the car up a little bit. If I want the car's really got a lot of bite, then I'll leave it to where I set it. Usually, when I set the car and the body on, the car sets on its spacers in the front. I don't run spacers in the rear at all, inside or out, but I do run spacers in the front on the outside. So when the car is sitting like this, the front end is sitting usually against the front stops. That way, if I'm drag racing, I let off, and I gotta let off a little bit, and the car wants to dive. It can only dive so far, it really kind of helps the handling of the car out, especially if you have to steer the car. So after you get everything kind of square, everything is free, you have everything set where you want it to. I have been running my battery in both cars with this battery farther forward. I have run on my Outlaw car. I run the battery all the way forward. It's all the way up against the stop. Then after you get everything like you want, I'll take a setup board and I'll lift the car right in the middle of the sway bar. And when I pick it up, I want both tires to leave the ground at the same time. If the car is, if it's picking it up like, well, I'll pick up the side. If I'm picking it up like this, and this tire's sitting on the ground, but this is not, that means the tweak of the car is off somehow. So I really try to, when I pick the center of the car up really gently, I make sure both tires are touching the ground at the same time. Now, once I do that with the rear of the car, I'll turn it around and I'll do the same with the front. When I pick the wheels off the ground and both tires are hitting the ground in the back, I'll pick the car up right in the center and both tires shall leave the ground at the same time. If whatever reason, if I pick the car up and this side's coming up or this side's coming up, that usually means I have twist in the wheelie bar. And a really easy way of fixing that is I'll just undo this sway bar real quick, or sway bar, wheelie bar. So once you get the sway bar, or the wheelie bar off, what I'll do is I'll take the wheelie bar and I'll set it on a flat piece of whatever. As you can tell, this one has a little bit of twist in it, so you can actually loosen up all the screws, set it straight, and then, or you can do it the manly way and do a twist like that. It's easier, more likely to take it off and loosen everything up, make sure it's flat, and then tighten everything back up. Now I have none. I twisted it back, now it's flat. When you launch, you want both tires to come back and hit the ground at the same time. If you have one hitting more than the other, the car is going to steer that direction. So you want to make sure that your wheelie bar and your back of your car is square. A lot of guys run a single wheelie bar. I'd rather have dual, because the single wheelie bar, when it gets back to that one bar, it will try to tricycle. It can go over left or right really hard. So make sure everything is square, make sure everything's solid, and then put it back on your car, and your car should launch nice and straight like you want it to. So let me put this back on. I'm kind of going through everything, guys. So if you guys do have a question, please let me know. Alright, what's up, Nestor? Thanks, Don. Saw you at the races. I was hoping you guys brought your car out. In the front, much camber in the back, or camber. I'm running. Normally, what I do with the car, that's my next step. After I get, let me get through this, and I'll answer that question. After I get everything squared, I know everything's solid. Usually, before I do all that, but I want to do it without taking the tires off, because I don't take tires off and on. But before I usually do that, I actually put my car on a jig. Setup board, setup station, whatever you want to call it. And basically, I'll show you what it is. Big thing, what I see a lot of is tires coming unglued. When a car goes up to do a burnout, I can tell if that car is has an unglued tire because you can hear the tire flapping. So things happen. Belts, if you run belted tires, belts rip. I've seen them rip. It happened to me. Just a barely a rip right here. I must have hit a rock or got sideways or something, and it started making the car do weird stuff. Start making the car go left and right. So after you get your tires off, I usually clean them with simple green, and then I'll put them in a bag. I don't really care about the front tires very much, but the rear tires, yeah, you'll clean them and put them in a bag. I didn't get home till 2:30 in the morning on Saturday, so this is how this car sets. I also will do a check with the chassis, especially you guys that are running carbon fiber double-decker chassis. Those things, if you crash or you get upset, they do tweak. It means the chassis is sitting crooked. The best thing to do is just like what the onward guys do, is loosen all the screws up on it, set it on a table, get it back to sit flat, then tighten them all back up. And a great way of knowing if the chassis is tweaked or not is do the same thing. Lift it up, make sure that everything is coming off the ground at the same time. Same thing here. If you're picking it up, both arms should be coming off the ground at the same time. If you have one coming up more than another, then you have the wrong spacer, or a shock could be screwed out half a turn more than another. So you really want to look at those fine-tuning options with these cars. When you build your shocks, make sure that they're exact same length. You can either use, calipers like these. I have these. I have long ones. There's shock tools out there that you can put both shocks on with a little gauge that show you that they are the same length, and you also can squeeze them together to make sure the springs are pushing down the same on both sides. I don't know where my tool is, but I will find it. So make sure your car is square. Another thing that's a big problem that people oversee is the sway bars themselves. People, they will take your calipers, they'll measure both sides, they think they're the same. They'll look at, they look the same, you feel like your car is square, but I'll show you something here. This is what I do. I'll take the rear shocks off the car, and I'll just screw them in here. I'll put the car, I'm going to try to do this backwards. I'll put the car on a flat surface, a setup board or whatever, and I'll hold one side down. And then I'll take the other side and I'll pull up. And I'll hold this side down and I'll pull this side up. See, this is a problem here for my 13.5 car I just saw. This is something I check all the time. I did not check it before this last race. Here, let me get the wheelie bar off the ground. But I'm pushing the chassis down the ground. I'm holding one side. I'm pulling up. You see the play in this arm here? It's very minimal. Then I'll go to the other side and I'll check the other side. I want both sides to have the same amount of play. If this side is tight, but this side's got all kinds of room, that means that your sway bar has actually got the rear of the car twisted. So your car is going to launch and go the direction that the sway bar is sending it. So I'm holding everything down flat on the chassis. I'm holding the arm down. I have a little bit of play. If you really want to get technical, you can get some filler gauges and put them underneath the arm and see how much is that arm has place. Then I hold it down, and then I'll do the same with the other side. See how this side does move, but it's a little bit tighter? That means my car has a little bit of torque twist in the rear. So what I'll do is I'll screw this side in a little bit to make this side match this side. Does that make sense, guys? That way I know my sway bar is set up perfectly for the rear of my car. And this is for this sway bar, it's for the stock sway bar, it's for any car with a sway bar. You want to make sure that both sides have the same amount of give. Let's see here. So after you adjust your sway bar and make sure that both sides are equal, you have less or the same amount of play on both sides, then you know that your sway bar is set up in square. You also want to make sure that your sway bar is nice and loose. If you push it up and it stays, then your car's bound up. So you really want to make sure that everything is really nice and free in the rear. That's the same with the front. You want to make sure everything is free in the front and the rear. Once you have all that set up, then you can go ahead and reconnect your arms to your shocks to your arms. And now I know my car is pretty close to being square. Okay. Now the next thing I'll do, usually the first thing I do, and one of the last things I do, and I do it twice, after I go through the car and I get everything set up, I use a tweak station. Now I got mine from 720. It comes with these pieces here. It comes with some different front pieces. I got this one here. There we go. Now, it's hip to be square, right? Let's see. How fast has you been on the DR10? A stock DR10, Robert, or my where's the green car at? A green car's at the top. That is a stock DR10 system. I just have it geared up to 2681, and that car will run a 2.8 at 46 mile an hour in 132 feet. So that's on 2S with a stock DR10 setup. So 46 mile an hour at a 2.8. My 13.5 car, it's pretty dang close to about the same. My Go Fast car, my Outlaw car, I've been over 70 mile an hour and 132 feet. So, let's see here. I'll make sure I don't miss any questions. Pro Street. So, now I have these here. I'll bolt all these onto the car. And what these do is they're nice and flat and true. Oh, I'm doing the wrong ones here. These go on the front. What is my, let's see here. ET 2.8 on that. What is your front shock mounting positions on the tower? Subsheet on the rear outer hole, but nothing on the front. I'm on the outer hole in the front. Far outer hole in the front. Getting it to leave is the hard part. That's why I tell everybody to make sure that they run, use their slipper. It's part of your tuning. It's part of your tuning. Do you want it to slip all the way down? No. but you do want it to give a little bit. If it doesn't give, then if it doesn't give, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna make the car really hard to drive. I know a lot of you guys set up these cars to do wheelies all the way down the track. That's not fast. I'm not saying it's not fast, but the problem is, if you're on a windy track and you got your front wheels in there, what's that body doing? It's just a parachute. So I can guarantee you that you can get a lot more speed out of your car with the front end on the ground. So when you're like this, where's all that wind going? All that wind is going right in the body. If you're going like this, the wind is using the body to get over the top and put downforce on the rear. So you really want to make sure that you keep the, I mean, if it wheelies out and carries the front wheels out, that's drag racing, that's awesome. But eventually you want that thing to set back down to cut through that air and get to the other side. So now you have the setup board, or setup sheet, or setup kit on here. This has a 1, 0, has a 2 and a 3 also. You put that on the front like this, and it makes everything so I get 1 degree of toe out. I usually run 0 degree of caster in the rear, and I usually run about 1 in the front. And then once you have all that set up, you use your camber gauge to set all that up all the way around. Make sure you do the front end with your car on. Make sure your radio's on and everything's set at 0. Because if you set everything up and your radio's off, and then you turn your car on and your wheels do this, you got everything all messed up. So you'll want to make sure you set that up with your car on and everything's sitting square. Once you have everything square like that, then I go back through the process of making sure I lift the rear and make sure both tires touch the same ground at the same time, as well as the front. I lift the front, make sure the front touches the same time, and the wheelie bar touches the back at the same time. Does that make sense, guys? I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. If you don't understand, please let me know. I will definitely go back and recover that. Let's see here. Let's see here. Alright, cool. So, once you get your car all square, you get everything like it needs to be, everything's free, everything's smooth, and all that. Your car is basically pretty much start running. Now, if you guys have a buddy, or like I have my son, we'll usually take one car, we'll leave it alone, we won't touch it. We know what his car runs, or we know what my car runs from the last race, and then we'll do small changes and adjust from there. So if I do a small adjustment, now don't be like me and go out and change your whole car. If you want to try a setup, just go in there and make sure that you do one change at a time. So if you want to go a little thicker oil, then, or you want to change the spring package in the rear, just do one thing at a time. Change the oil and then build them the same way every time. And then if you like it, great. If not, you go back and then change your springs. Don't just go in and throw a setup at it and expect it to stick. This has become one of those things where practice makes things a lot easier. After you get your car set up, you also want to make sure your car is in good condition. You want to make sure your overdrives aren't wore. If your overdrives are wore, basically your overdrive is usually you have your dog run with a pin through it, and that goes into your cup, and that slides into there. But if you look at the side, it has a cutout in it like this, and if that's got to be flat, if they'll start to wear and put a little circle in here. If that is like that, you're going to want to replace those as soon as you can. The reason why is because it's like a memory. Now that it has a cup in it, when you give it gas, those dog bones are going to go to the farthest outside part, which is where it's wore the most, and it's going to lock that suspension in and not let the suspension work. On my drag car, I do use a little bit of butter grease on my outdrives, just so it does keep the wear down to the minimum and also lets it slide a little bit better. Let's see here. Okay. What else is on my list here? Now, we talked about getting a slipper, the tweak, sway bar setup. Now, gearing. Usually gearing is about the same. You can ask your buddy what he's running with his motor. If you're running a 4.5 like me, I can tell I'm running a 4.5 Wheelie motor with geared at 2087. It doesn't mean that if you're going to run a 4.5 motor, you need to gear yours at 2087. Simple reason is it all depends on your motor timing on the end of the motor. Also, it depends on what you're running in your speedo for boost and turbo and all that. Now, Wheelie just released update to take your. This is the 510R. I'll show you the difference here. This is our 510R speedo. This is what we've been running in like our off-road cars. I run on my 13.5 car, but we also make an A-scale 850. As you can see, it's a lot bigger. It's got bigger wire. It holds more capacity. It's got a bigger fan, and we now have a upload that you can upload a new program into the 850 to make it a 2S drag speedo. And people are like, well, why do you want to put that big old thing in your drag car? Well, simple fact, it has bigger components. It's made for 6S. It's made for off-road A-scale racing. It's made for the guys that put all that power, big motors, into your A-scale car. But with new programming, because the stock 850 does not have boost and timing and a lot of those features you will need for 10-scale racing, like the 510R does. But the 850 with the new download, it puts all that boost timing and turbo timing and frequencies and all that stuff in this speedo makes it just like this one, but with bigger components. So if you guys are having issues getting your stuff hot, which most of us do, of course the bigger component speed control will definitely help let everything last. And I run the 850 basically right back here on my Outlaw car. It fits right in the middle of the battery tray, but I run it all the way back, and the wires to the shock tower and these forward. So if you guys are looking for a little bit bigger and badder speedo, we do have the 850 Wheelie speedo available for you guys. With speedos, you guys also, for you new guys, go in there with your settings and turn your brakes down. What's happening is you're taking your car with a big badass motor and 2S, 8.4 volts, and you're feeding it through the speed control into the motor, and you're going through into the track at 60 mile an hour, 65 mile an hour, and then you're going full brake. Then you're taking all that power that was going in the motor back out of the motor, because it works as regenerates power back through that speedo, and usually burns and heats up the speedo. So go into your settings on your whatever speedo you're running, Hobby Wing, Wheelie, Tekin, whatever. Take those brakes and turn them down. I run 40% brakes. Simple fact is when I'm going down the track and I go and hit the brakes, it's not going to lock up and and slide sideways and crash because the wheels are locked up. It's not going to take all that power and try to kill my speedo. It's just going to slowly, gradually slow down to a stop. You turn around and come back, and everything's happy. So just whatever speedo you're running, go into your phone, go into the box, and go ahead and turn your brakes down. It's just going to make everything a lot happier. I'll make sure I'm not missing any questions, guys. Yeah, let's talk about that. I have no problem talking about that. Hang on one second. I want to make sure. Any must-haves for the DR10? Just take your time. The only thing I really have done is I put threaded shock bodies. I don't even have threaded shock bodies on the front. These are the stock DR10 shock bodies. I just put them on the rear just so I can do the final adjustments. Take good care of your tires. I run reactions with no foams for the rear. Must-haves? Yeah, you must have fun. Let's see here. Where's your front bumper? I'm not going to hit anybody. You're the guy that usually hits people, James. Vegas, remember? I run no drive brake. I don't run any drive brake in my car. You can though if you want to, just a little bit. When will Associated address the idle gear failure? Or what's the fix? Robert, I'll tell you what the fix is. Loosen the slipper up a little bit. I have thousands of runs on this car here. I went through one idler because it was my fault. So I'm running a 4.5, I'm running the 850 Speedo, I'm running a turbo, I'm running a boost, I'm running all plastic gears, and I don't have a problem. Jonathan runs the same thing I run. He doesn't have any failure. I know I talked to Dan Wilson. Dan Wilson's running all plastic. He's fast guy up there in the Sacramento area. He runs all plastic. So if you're having failure, I almost guarantee you're running this a little tight. Back that off a little bit, which will do two things. It'll protect your drivetrain, and two, it'll make your car a lot easier to go fast. So hopefully that helps. I do when I do rebuild my outdrive stuff, I will go through my gearbox and clean it. If I do replace my idler gear probably every few months. I've just got done running in Colorado. There was 3 races in Colorado, 2 practice nights. I just ran at the birthday race down here in Laverne. Before that race, I went to Arizona. I raced Flagstaff race. I went down to Chandler and raced with the 480 guys, and that's all. I didn't open my gearbox once, so, and all those tracks were fast. So you just have to take some time. You know, make sure you use some grease in there, keep it lubricated, and will they last forever? No, but as long as you do general maintenance on races. Now, every one of those races, I did tons of practice. I did lots of tuning. So, probably within the last 3 weeks, we see, I've probably ran that car over 150 laps or 150 passes with no issues. So, another thing you guys want to also check out is you want to make sure that your bearings are in good condition. Take them out, make sure they're free. Clean them, re-grease them, re-oil them. Usually I'll spray them out with a electrical cleaner, and then I'll use, I have it in here too. I got some high-speed bearing oil from 480 guys. I have this super oil stuff. I use a really lightweight oil, and it's time for me to, you know, I got so many races on these cars. It's time for me to take them apart, clean them, and re-lube them and make sure they're nice and free. So it's just like you take your Jeep off road all the time. It's just maintenance. You have to do maintenance. You do have to be. I know a lot of guys are running Robinson racing gears. They're the only aluminum gear that I know that actually fits right is the Serpent idler gear. But the problem when you start running like a steel idler gear, you have a steel idler gear, it gets aluminum top gear. What's going to give is that top gear because it's aluminum, it's softer. Plastic is kind of like self-lubricating. It's slippery, which metal is not. I do have. I'll be honest with you guys. I have a Serpent gear right there, and I have a Robinson racing gear right there. I ran one of these in my Outlaw car a few months ago just to test it to see if it was all that, and I blew this out in, I don't know, 20 passes. You can see the teeth are nice and shiny and sharp because it's aluminum against aluminum, and I did use grease. Same thing here. This is a Robinson racing gear. I believe this gear is discontinued, so you need to make sure you get the right one. It's still in my box. I never put it in there. Simple fact is I didn't want to put that steel against aluminum. Stock slipper, I did go over that. I am running, this is a stock slipper setup with the LCF pads, 91197. It's low, it's like a low friction slipper pad. On my Outlaw car, I run a 91175 a VTS kit, which is a 3-pad setup. And I do run the same LCF pads in that triple pad that I do with the 2-pad. When I found out through working with the guys in Colorado, is that the LCF pads, I gave them pads to try, and now I don't have any pads for myself. But well, coming to find out that that pad seemed to be more consistent to back-to-back runs. With the stock pads, they were good one run, but the next pad, the next pass, it seemed to not be as consistent. The more I heated, the more it got inconsistent. With the LCF pads, they seem to be more consistent, longer. So, okay. So yeah, that's that on slippers. We went over the setup. We went over tweak. We went over sway bar setup. Now, okay. So that's basically on the car. Everything else, you know, you're going to want to go into the Speedo. I do use the little black box Speedo. I plug it in. Now, the cool thing what I did with the Speedo is that it has a plug where the fan plugs in. You have to unplug the fan and to plug in the box to do adjustments. Well, what I did on my Outlaw car, which I'm going to do to this car, is I put a Y. So I got one plug that goes into the Speedo that stays there. One Y goes to the fan, and the other Y, on my car, I have it servo taped to the back, so I can plug it in the back where I can get my RPM, my amp draw, I can make adjustments, and do all that without having to open the car up. On Jonathan's car, I did the same thing, but I put his plug right here on the side, and that was an easy way to check the Speedo, do adjustments without having to unplug and make a mess of it. Now, on the reading Speedo, there's a few things you guys should know about. Even with the 850, you have the plug here for the fan, and when you get done running your car, you can actually Um, when you get done running your car, don't turn it off. Go back to your pits and plug it into the box. And what that will do, it will tell you your amp draw that it took. It will tell you what RPMs your motor ran, and I think a few other things. So if you guys are looking to learn more about your racing, which it's helped me a lot, I found out that my motor, my 4.5 motor, was turning upwards to 85,000 RPM, which I thought was way too much. So I geared it up one tooth. I brought it down to about 65,000 RPM, but that also told me what RPM I was running, and then also I was doing partial hits. I'd run the car out like I nail the car. I used the amp draw to give it the power it needed to get it off the line and out as fast as I could without upsetting the car or breaking the tires loose. And then once I felt the car that I could add the boost, I let off the throttle, I brought the car back, I plugged the box in, I see what RPMs I was turning, and then I started adding boost in where I thought that RPM was. And then I ran the car out again to where I thought I could add some turbo. I let off, brought the car back, plugged it back in, figured out what RPM was, where it was at, added turbo in where that RPM was, and I just kind of started at that point, just building the setup in my speed control. Also, with the Futaba radios, I can also slow down throttle speed, where I can go in, and now I have my basic setup in my car where it does what I want it to, but then I can adjust my radio really quick to either let the servo speed slow down the speedo or speed up the speedo. And that makes the car leave harder or leave softer. So there's a lot of little things like that that you just have to play with and learn. I get people all the time, hey, I want to send you my car. Can you make it go fast and sit in the back? Hey, what do I put in my car to make it go fast? I don't know where you're running. I don't know what your conditions are. I don't know what surface you're running on. I don't know your elevation, because elevation makes a difference. So I say start off soft and slowly work your way through. Get your slipper to work consistently how you want it. And then start adding your boost and your turbo. Start adding the power in your car. It's a slow process, but we all do it. So, and then write it down in a book. That way you know where you're at, what you're at, how it's working. Hey, I'm going back to this track. Oh, I had it set up like this last time, so I'll put this setup in it for this track again, and it'll get you closer quicker. So keep an idea of, keep basically a map of getting your car to go fast. Let's see here. Okay. So that's it about the car. That's everything that I've gone over everything. Cool thing is if you guys are running the drag race concept Wheelie bar, these are their plastic wheels. I've had great luck with the plastic wheels. Instead of the rubber ones, I'm running plastic. So also for you guys that are body changers, is what I mean is you change to this body, then you put another body in your car. Every time you change your body on your car, it's another setup. You need to, like if I'm going to run the Super J body then go to the CUDA body, I'm going to want to go out for a few hours and run the CUDA body and make sure that I get the car to go A to B. Because some cars have more forward downforce, front downforce. Some cars have more rear downforce. Some cars are more neutral. Some cars run small wings. Some guys run big wings. So just because you change your body doesn't mean it's going to make your car work immediately right at that moment. So spend some time and work with your car, the body you're running. That's why I stick with the Super J body, just because I want to keep the car as close to it running as possible. Now, tire conditioning. After you glue up a good set of tires, if you do them at home or you do them wherever, some people allow tire conditioning, some people don't. I have a couple of different bags. The proper way of taking care of your tires is take some Simple Green after you get in running them, clean them with Simple Green, wipe them down, and then for my conditioned tires, I'll take whatever conditioner I'm using at that time, I'll put it on the tire, I'll let it do its thing, I'll wipe it down, and then I'll just stick them in the bag. And make sure you use a good Ziploc bag, something that seals up, that doesn't let air in. A lot of people don't realize that these tires do dry out, even though they're not cracking, but they do dry out. They won't work as good. So taking care of your tires is a big, big positive thing. So take good care of your tires. Even if you have your set of tires that have no sauce on all, like my 13.5 car, I'll Simple Green them, I clean them up real nice, and I'll put them right in the bag. That way they're ready to go for next time. Front tires, it's not as critical because all the front tires are doing is floating. But I usually just do the rear tires. And then I'm usually good. So. Alright guys, let's see. Hitting it with 9 degrees of timing don't help the out of the gear. Yeah, it doesn't. But if you have your slipper correctly, you know, when that does come in really hard. If you guys have seen my car in person, you know how hard my car is on the other end. It's super fast. So it's all about protecting your car. That's what the slipper's there for. And when that turbo does come in, you're going to hear it slip a little bit. But over slipping is not good, but not slipping enough is also not good. Kyle, our local guy, still idle gears don't work. They do. They just wear out other stuff. I mean, either you're going to put the steel one in there and you're going to wear out the top shaft, or you're going to put the aluminum one in there, wear them both out. Or you can run the plastic one, and then when the plastic one starts to wear, you just replace it with another $5 idler gear. And I think they come in a package of 2. For you guys out there that have racetracks in your area that have old B5 parts, B5 idler gears, B5 diffs. I think the B5 idler gears are black. They're not white, but it's the same gear. I ran out of white idler gears. I found black idler gears at a shop that were from the B5, not the B5M, but the B5, and I have those in my drag car. So it's the same everything. It's just it's from an older car. Yeah, steel and aluminum is bad. You know, you can put grease in it, but it's still not good. I've had my car run in the teens, and I haven't had an issue. Now, if you're running on a I can build a whole diff for almost the amount of the cost. Although still out of gears, yeah, they're ridiculous. Yeah, as Dan says, test, check your temperatures. Usually I'll run 1 to 2 passes on my Outlaw car before I let it cool down. If I'm feeling kind of like I didn't do a full run, I'll check the temperature. I might do a 3rd pass, but I won't do any more than 3 on my Outlaw car. My 13.5 car, it doesn't even get hot. I'll hot lap that thing and as much as I want, and it won't hurt it. So, anyways, guys, I hope this was a lot of help. I went through front to back on setup, my setup, what to look for, chassis tweak. I went through tire conditioning, So I hope this was a lot of help, guys. If you guys do have any questions, you can hit me up, and I will on my Facebook page. I'll try to. I'm really backed up on my messages. Facebook is probably the easy way to get a hold of me. Just let me know. I'll do my best. If you're asking me how to make your car go fast at your track, I'll do my best to help you out, but I don't know your surface and I don't know your conditions. You can go. I do have a setup sheet. I'm going to get ready to redo the setup sheet and come out with a new setup sheet with some of the changes I've done. So I will work on that hopefully this week. And you guys have a great day. Stay out of the smoke. It's orange here. It's not. It's just this. We have two fires. We have one here and one here, and it's blowing right up in my house. We did go to some trees yesterday, and it's just been miserable. Anywhere right now in California, Arizona, Colorado was horrible. Utah was bad. The smoke, guys, out here is absolutely horrible. So please be safe. Have fun with your cars, and we'll talk to you guys next time.